Now, with even former DNC Chair Howard Dean saying this health care bill should be killed, is this health care reform issue dead again? And if it passes, what have we got then? Here to talk about what you're talking about is our power panel, journalist Judy Licht, Lynn White, and advertising executive Charlotte Ann Nelson. Charlotte Ann, you're first up this time around. Thumbs up, thumbs down for the current bill.
Oh my goodness, thumbs down, Chuck. Along with other grassroots progressives, I feel incredibly disappointed. We have seen a lack of courage and leadership from the White House throughout on this, but I thought we were going to get away with it at one stage. And we've seen a lack of backbone from Democrats in the Senate. But I thought maybe something was going to sneak through. But I'm with Howard Dean, at least in thinking that Democrats need to man up. Republicans have no qualms about using tactics like filibustering, but Democrats were too, delicate, I suppose, to take this to reconciliation. This is terribly, terribly disappointing. What would it take to have you change your mind and say, okay, let's pass this bill? Would it take one of those little things that was dropped out, like dropping Medicare down to 55? Yes, it's funny, because when we spoke about this last week, I was thinking about this. I was thinking, am I already too disappointed with no public option? But I thought if there's a public option for people who most need it, the elderly demographic that spends the most on healthcare, if Medicare's open to the over 55s, then I was still on board with it. I thought it was still a radical enough change. At this point, I don't know, I suppose it's still worth passing, but it's just deeply disappointing.
I'm disappointed in the process and in the system, and I think there's going to be a repercussion, and I think that's going to be in the voting booth in the next elections. I really think that most incumbents, most of the people, Democrats, Republicans, who we watch on TV doing what is being done now or not doing what they should be doing now, are going to be voted out, because this is not effective public policy. Everyone agrees there should be reform in health care, but no one can figure out how to get it done, and that's wrong.
Would you, I know you're in favor of this. You're in favor of health care reform of some kind.
Not this, whatever this is.
Would you subscribe to the notion that even if this bill is terribly flawed, even if it's going to drive up the cost of health care and not cover everybody, should we go ahead and pass this monster and then try to fix it later? Or should they go back to the drawing boards? What's your view?
I think what you first stated is what we should do. We should have something and build on it. I mean, that's what happened with Social Security. That's what happened with the Civil Rights Act. You build on something, but you have to have something from which to build. If you deny it now, then the mindset's going to be it's never going to pass, so it's dead. I don't think we should kill it. It shouldn't be DOA.
Judy, DOA or not?
DOA with my blessings. I have to tell you that 51%, you saw the figures, 51% of the people in this country don't want it. I don't think you ladies represent the majority of the people in this country.
They don't want the bill, but they want health care reform.
They don't want anything that has been proposed to them so far. You can't say, let's legislate a bill and then we'll fix it later. I mean, that's just as difficult as going back to the drawing board. It's worse because it's already law.
Judy, there's nothing democratic about this process. The whole thing is now being held hostage by Joe Lieberman.
Exactly.
This is one-man
politics.
politics.
The healthcare industry, the insurance industry.
No. That's why there's, excuse me, that's why there's checks and balances in this country. And let me tell you, the Democrats were the most successful users of filibusters in previous laws. The bottom line is that I think that John Dean and Joe Lieberman are going to save the Democratic Party, because I think if these legislators go home over the Christmas break and listen to their constituents, they will never pass this. They're going to be elected out of office if it does pass.
Judy, let me ask you something to be constructive on this. What if you could design the bill? It's a tall order here, but where would you start to try to fix health care reform and broaden the base so more people are covered and bring the costs down?
I think one of the things the first thing I would do is tort reform, because while these doctors are getting these huge, have these huge insurance policies because of these enormous, ridiculous settlements, doctors can't afford to practice medicine. They're asking for all the extra tests, all the extra bells and whistles, because they're afraid of being sued. That's the first and foremost thing. And that would mean taking on the Democrats and the lobbyists who are for the lawyers. The second thing I would do is I would really try to create a much more competitive insurance system. Right now,
but how do you do that?
You can legislate it more of a free market in insurance policies state by state and open that up on a state by state. And that can be done at a federal level.
But it's not been done. I mean, nothing's been done, and that's the problem.
Well, then
we're stuck on nothing.
Why take a bad solution and bad legislation and say, well, this is the only thing we can do?
That's what, that's why we can do one thing. Vote them all out and start afresh there.
Charlotte Ann, last word.
Oh my goodness, if the most popular president in a couple of generations can't get healthcare reform through, I must say I'm terribly demoralized.
He squandered his popularity on this. You know, really, his numbers are terribly low.
This was his big challenge, his big reform, his
But that was also what the opposition knew going in. They said, we want the healthcare reform bill to be this president's Waterloo. And so that's what this has been about.
It does me a lot of good to say, Charlotte Ann, final word, doesn't it? Thank you. We're out of time. I'm sorry. I'd love to talk about this for the rest of the hour. Yeah. Thank you very much, Charlotte Ann, Lynn, Judy. Always a pleasure.